What makes communication during change effective? When I ask that question, employees and leaders respond with things like consistency, accuracy, relevance, clarity, timeliness, and transparency. The foundation for building that level of communication is your change communication strategy. Stay tuned. In this video, I'll describe 4 elements that you need when creating your change communication strategy to ensure that it supports and enables change in your organization. Communicating to create healthy and sustainable change is more than just simply giving and receiving information. It is the way we interact and engage with people, interpret data, make meaning, develop understanding, and build, or in the case of poor communication, destroy relationships. It's the thread that weaves through every aspect of every change and your organization. Through what you say, what you do, what you don't say, and what you don't do. That's what makes it an essential element for every change. Although communication can and does do many things throughout the change process, it has one purpose. The purpose of communication is to invite, guide, and help people navigate their journey through the change process. Okay, let's talk about communication strategy and specifically your change communication strategy. Your change communication strategy provides you with a clear, planned approach for ensuring people have what they need to build readiness and navigate their journey to achieve the intended outcome. It's about building a responsive, adaptable, and supportive communication process for the people who will be experiencing and navigating the changes. Your change communication strategy should also not be just a static document that outlines the information that you'll send out and when to send it out. It needs to represent a flexible approach that includes the sequence and patterns of conversations needed and other communication methods. And it needs to be informed, aligned, and evolve with your people's level of readiness. It also doesn't replace your organizational communication strategy. So if you have a communications department or a person that is responsible for your organizational communication, I highly recommend involving them in the development of your change communication strategy. Their insights can be valuable, especially because you want to align your change strategy with the broader communication goals and values of the organization. All right. What are the 4 elements that you need for designing a communication strategy that will support your change efforts? Let's get started. Element number 1, understand the change recipient's journey. It's easy to initiate and launch a change from your perspective. However, it's the perception of the people who will do that heavy lifting that will determine whether you achieve your intended outcome. Therefore, you must develop your change communication strategy from the change recipient's perspective. For example, a change that looks small and easy at the executive leadership level may, at the ground level, be more complex and feel much riskier for the people that are affected. At the same time, different groups will also be affected differently and have different communication needs to build their readiness. For example, for the sales team, that new CRM system will radically transform their work. They'll need to be actively involved and need much different types of communication than, say, the accounting department, who's only going to receive a report from that new system. Your communication strategy needs to include all of your change recipients and reflect their different needs for building readiness and navigating their change process. Element number 2, choose a variety of communication methods and interactions. I see a tendency of leaders to rely on only a few communication methods: presentations, emails, and meetings. Remember, your communication during change is not about sending information. It's about engaging, involving, and interacting with the people to help guide their journey through the change process. Think about each group of change recipients. What does the change look like from their perspective, and what will help them navigate the journey? For example, in one large transformation, the leader engaged the most affected change recipients very early in the change process in a series of small group discussions to explore why the change was needed and what it meant for them. At the end of these discussions, the people were engaged. They felt calmer and expressed a willingness to help. When we work with clients to develop their change communication strategies, one of the first things we do is a current communication assessment. The assessment gives insight into all of the various communication methods in their organization, their strengths and weaknesses, and rates its usefulness for supporting current change efforts. The results allow the leaders to use existing methods and identify any modifications and then any new methods that will be needed to enable their change efforts. Element number 3, recognize and include informal communication channels. Often, when you think of developing a change communication strategy, you think of all the formal communication channels. Things like your company newsletter, presentations, emails, maybe town hall meetings, your intranet site, even department or other staff meetings. All of these can be helpful. And as I mentioned, you need to explore the value of each of those to support your change efforts. However, don't overlook your informal communication methods and channels and your informal leaders. These informal communications are often faster and more powerful than your official channels. These channels can include impromptu encounters, those pre-conversations before a meeting starts or after it finishes, side conversation, even water cooler conversations. Together, all of those informal communication channels with those informal leaders creates your organizational grapevine and allows it to thrive. So if you want a healthy grapevine, it's essential that you recognize and use your informal communication channels thoughtfully to avoid that misinformation and build trust. When designing your communication strategy, you also need to include the informal leaders and ensure that they have the information, confidence, expectation, and permission to share accurate, timely, and helpful information. Element number 4, focus on active communication and balance it with passive communication. Passive communication methods such as email, newsletters, even some presentations can be passive, are one-way communication. There's little opportunity for you to interact with the message or the messenger. Email is one of the most common forms of passive communication. It's also the quickest way to sabotage a change effort before you even get started. I've done a previous video on how email sabotages change, and I'll post it in the show notes below. Active communication, conversation enables you and others to interact, engage with the information intellectually and emotionally. Active communication involves real-time conversations where you can gauge people's reaction and understanding of your message and your intent of that message. You can adjust and respond in the moment as people interact and interpret the information. Conversation is one of the most powerful yet underrated and underused communication methods for enabling change. We use conversation to make sense of our world. Think about this. You know more about the world based on your conversations than from your direct experience. Formal and informal conversations must be included in your change communication strategy. Ensuring your change communication strategy includes these 4 elements will help you create a strategy that supports your change efforts and provides your team with what they need to build readiness and navigate the change process to achieve the intended outcome. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like button, and this would be a great time, if you haven't already, to subscribe. That's it for now. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.